Hey Plugin Alliance, this is Ken Lewis from Audio School Online. I'm also a producer, mixer, songwriter, arranger. You've definitely heard my work. I'm going to show you some really cool tricks and techniques with the Brainworx BX Digital V3 today. But first I want to tell you a quick story about how I came to start using this piece. So back in, it must have been the early 2000s, whenever this thing, the very first incarnation of it came out, I was at the New York AES convention, and Dirk from Brainworx had this little booth set up, and I was almost ready to leave the show, and I'm walking past the booth, and it looked pretty interesting. And he had a hardware version of the Brainworx BX Digital, as well as the plugin up on the screen. So I walked over and I struck up a conversation, and he started showing me this plugin that absolutely just blew my mind. And at the time, it was the very first equalizer plugin that did MS middle side equalization. And the only way before that you could do this was in a mastering house. So as a mix engineer, I was incredibly interested in it because you know, the mastering guys always got to get the best toys, and now I could have them. So Dirk gives me the whole rundown on it. I took it immediately and started using it, and I've been using Brainworx since before probably almost anybody even knew it existed, and I've always stuck with it. I love these things. And this thing is probably on my mix bus every single mix that I do. So I'm going to show you a few tricks and techniques with it on the mix bus and also on some like keyboard pads and stuff. So I have this group, Don't Believe in Ghosts, indie band from New York City, great band, and this song is called Nothing I Can Do. So I'm going to loop the song, and the first thing I'm going to show you is just a little bit of stereo widening. Now, the first thing that you got to understand about stereo widening is the temptation to overdo stereo widening is tremendous, and you've got to hold off on that temptation. There's a time and a place, and I'll show you the time and the place. This isn't it. Usually, when I have a finished mix, I'll add the BX Digital, I'll sweep some frequencies and see if I can really enhance the mix, which I'll do here, but I also widen it, usually for me between 108% and 112%. On rare occasion I might go up to 114, but usually I land in that 110 to 112 range, which I'm going to show you now, and I'll bypass it and bring it back in so that you can hear it. And what it does is it just takes your mix and it puts it just a little bit outside of the speakers, and it kind of gives a little bit of extra clarity and depth and you know, three-dimensionalness to your mix. So check this out. So this is what I'm talking about, the stereo width right here. So first I'm going to really over-exaggerate it so you hear what it does. It pulls it way outside of the speakers. But when it does that, it also incurs phase incoherency, which makes you kind of want to turn your head and bark like a dog. And nobody wants to listen to a record like that. So here we go. I'll overdo it, and then I'll bring it back, and then you can check it out.
Touch sets me on fire. Fires, they roll. The future just gets brighter, much brighter when you're close. Your touch sets me on fire. Fires, they roll.
Hear how wide this thing can get? But you don't want to do that to a full mix. You can do that to individual pieces of a mix, and that's what I'm going to show you next. But this is really subtle, but man, it's just an extra little finishing technique. And here's 113, that's probably fine.
Your touch sets me on fire. Fires, they roll.
Very, very cool, subtle stuff. Now I'm going to sweep some frequencies and show you. Now this is a fairly finished mix. Everything is really solid, well balanced, in place, but I feel like it can shine a little bit more, and the top end on this equalizer is fantastic.
Your touch sets me on fire. Fires, they roll. The future just gets brighter, much brighter when you're close. Your touch sets me on
Now, if you'll notice right now, I'm using the EQ as a tandem, it's linked. So what I'm doing to the middle, I'm also doing to the sides. But if I also want to pull, maybe I just want to pull that lead vocal a little bit more out front, I can go to the middle section I'll go to this band right here, which is unlinked. And so the middle is only going to affect what you hear in the dead center, whatever's panned in the center, which is the mono section. The stereo section is going to affect only the sides. And so I'm going to take the mono middle and I'm going to look for kind of some mid-range element that pulls the vocal forward towards you a little bit.
Your touch sets me on fire. Fires, they run. The future just gets brighter, much brighter when you're close. Your touch sets me on fire. Fires, they run. The future just gets brighter, much brighter.
What a huge difference. So that's typically how I use the BX Digital on the mix bus. Now in the next segment I'll show you a really cool trick with keyboard pads. All right.
I could barely make a memo without you.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you a really cool stereo widening technique that's not going to ruin your mix bus, but it's going to give you like the ability to just throw elements of your mix way outside of the speakers. So I'm using this thing called the wobble pad. Again, one more time in solo.
That I want to keep without.
Okay, so I put BX Digital across it. Right now it's nulled out, nothing is happening. So I could take the stereo width button on it and throw the stereo width button really high. Let me just show you what that sounds like, but then I'll show you a much cooler technique.
I could barely make a memory that I want to keep without you near me. Oh, I try.
Okay, so that's definitely one way to go about doing it, but the thing that I think is much cooler and more phase coherent it doesn't make you want to turn your head and bark as quite as much is so I take only the stereo section, so mono stereo. So I take the S section and I pick one band and I take just a piece of the sound with one band and just widen that one band out. Now usually I'll do it somewhere in the lower mids to the mids. The highs often don't work very well unless you have like a really, really bright pad. Then you can sometimes get that really sizzly stuff way out wide. But listen to what this does. If I just choose, usually I'll have it about 1 octave on your Q, and I'll just to find where it sounds best, I'll boost all the way, sweep it, and then decide if that's going to stay that wide.
I could barely make a memory that I want to keep without you near me. Oh, I try, but then I'll deny. Oh, I'll try, but then I'll deny.
So you can hear how I'm taking kind of the lower mids and I'm kind of just wrapping them around the mix with this one band, one frequency band on this one pad. And I'm just taking that one pad element and I'm putting it way, way, way outside of the speakers so that you get kind of a similar feeling and effect as you do when you over widen the stereo mix bus, which far too many people do far too much of. This is a way to kind of still get your mix really, really wide, but keep the bulk of your mix very phase coherent and only take one thing and kind of throw, even not the whole thing, just a piece of that one thing a little bit out of phase and outside of the speakers. So, so you just get this huge depth and width to your mix. So one more time. So this I landed at 470, but it also does something really cool when it's kind of in the the lows.
I could barely make a memory that I want to keep without you near me. Oh,
That's more subtle, but I actually like the effect of that even better because it doesn't draw attention to itself, but it still gives you that width. And then I'll sweep it up just so you can hear kind of the mids more.
I could barely make a memory that I want to keep without you near me. Oh, I try, but then I'll deny.
All right, so that's a great technique for really widening your mix while keeping it completely phase coherent. So this is Ken Lewis. Thank you, Plug-in Alliance. And for my school, Audio School Online, check it out. Take care.